This is a netbook, a third-hand Acer Aspire ZG5 from 2008 to be precise. We are gonna turn it into a game system. For those not in the know, netbooks were hot property from the end of 2007 through to 2012, when tablet computing became a thing and rendered them completely irrelevant. Netbook isn't actually a different type of computer. It's a marketing term that translates to underpowered laptop we managed to shove into a smaller form factor. The Aspire 1 ZG5 has a single-core Intel Atom N270 processor running at 1.6 GHz and sports a mere 512 MB of RAM. Some versions come with a solid-state drive, but no such luck here. And while the total hard drive size is over 100 GB, instead of a mere 8 its compatriots operated on, the mechanical drive is... And if we wanted to replace it, we'd have to go through the keyboard and disassemble the whole machine. We're not gonna do that. Also on top of the dying hard drive is the already dead battery. The bottom line is that this particular ZG5 is glacial compared to both contemporaries and modern equivalents, and it's only going to get slower. Our intrepid Acer is 13 now, and came bundled with Windows XP. Now, while it's perfectly possible to leave XP on there, we'd have to make sure the Wi-Fi was off, as it's a walking security risk these days. Fortunately, this netbook's BIOS has USB booting, so you can create a Linux memory stick and insert it, like this. Get in, stupid thing. There. Oh, wrong side. Beautiful. This is Ubuntu 18.04, an LXDE variant of Ubuntu that's designed specifically for slower computers. It's one of the last versions they'd released that had 32-bit support. That's right, the ZG5 doesn't do 64-bit, it's that long in the tooth. And before you mention it in the comments, I did try some other variants. But to say the netbook wouldn't cooperate would be an understatement. Once I installed, I updated via terminal because it struggled with the graphical software update. After a less than quick restart to make sure it hadn't spontaneously combusted, come on. I installed DOSBox. While the bloated and graphic-intensive games of 2008 and beyond are too much for this little netbook, it's more than capable of handling itself when it comes to emulation. In fact, there's a specific type of emulation that this machine does better than the tablets that replaced it. This is a keyboard. I know, I was shocked too. Netbooks have keyboards. This means that all your favourite DOS classics will be available to play, provided you do a bit of remapping for the ones that need the numeric keypad. Sorry, there wasn't enough space. Opening the DOSBox text config file, I added an automatic mount point for the C drive, with a folder inventively called DOS Games. I then transferred some files from my DOS gaming directory on my main PC. Behold! Might and Magic 2 running on a netbook. But we can go even further than that. The ZG5 has a VGA out, and for some inexplicable reason my new monitor has a VGA in. It's time to grab a VGA cable and get to work. Glorious! But we can go even further still. I could run a jack wire from the netbook's sound card out to some speakers, but I installed Linux for a reason. The kernel can recognise most PC hardware and peripherals ever created, and that includes my Audient ID4 interface. Big screen TIE Fighter running on a netbook with better sound and joystick support. Joysticks? Oh yes indeed. That means controllers as well, and that's where we come to the final and optional part of the ZG5 gaming machine. RetroArch. RetroArch runs on a ridiculous amount of things, and despite the paltry 512 MB of RAM, our netbook meets not only the minimum, but the recommended specs. RetroArch runs on a lot of machines, but it also emulates a lot of different machines via its cores system. What does this mean? Amstrad Classic Burning Rubber running on a netbook. Yeah! Or any 8 to 16-bit console game you can think of. Not that you need to do that, with DOS gaming available to you of course. Should you tire of tapping on the mini keyboard, you can also install DOSBox Pure onto RetroArch and play DOS games with a wireless gaming controller. So why do any of this if you have a PC many times more powerful and can just use that instead? Because a lot of people who would view this channel have an old laptop sitting somewhere, discarded, unused, gathering dust. It's a sad state for them when they could be providing you with hours upon hours of joy instead.